Greek mythology has three purposes: to entertain, to explain events in nature, to emphasize the beliefs and values of the Greek religious practices were mostly conservative in nature. They were mainly based on time-honored observances, with many rooted in the Bronze Age, 3000 to 1050 BC, or even earlier still. The connection between gods and mortals was based on the concept of exchange through offerings and sacrifices. Offerings called votive offerings were a physical expression of thanks by individual worshippers. The Greeks worshipped in sanctuaries located in either a city or countryside depending on the nature of the deity. A sanctuary was considered a well-defined space that was set apart usually by an enclosure wall. This sacred precinct, or the temenos, contained the temple with a monumental cult image of the deity, such as an outdoor altar, statues and votive offerings to the gods, and often included features of the landscape. Many temples also benefited from their natural surroundings, helping to express the nature of the divinities. One example is the temple at Sounion dedicated to Poseidon requires a spectacular view of the water on three sides, and the Parthenon on the rocky Athenian Acropolis is a testament to the indomitable might of the goddess Athena. The central ritual act of ancient Greece was the sacrifice of an animal, specifically animals such as goats, oxen, and sheep, usually done at an altar located in the front of the temple, with the assembled participants consuming the entrails and meat of the victim. Liquid offerings, or libations, could also be used as sacrifices. Religious festivals, or feast days, would happen over the duration of the year, including for famous festivals with each having its own procession, athletic competitions, and even sacrifices. These were held every 4 years at Olympia, Delphi, Nemea, and Isthmia. These Panhellenic festivals were attended by people from all over. Other festivals were celebrated locally, or could be celebrated in groups known as mystery cults, such as the one at Eleusis near Athens, where only the initiates could participate. We tend to humanize everything. From pets to characters and even actions, we put them into the context of human values, understanding, and meaning. We cannot do this in the context of gods. The gods are not made to be understood, and may take certain actions that seem unreasonable, or even avoid actions in such a way that we cannot comprehend. This is important to understand in terms of mythology, as it is necessary to understand that the actions of the gods are made to be incomprehensible because they are not human, nor meant to be seen as such. Respect for the gods and their power. Pride is one's downfall. Family loyalty. Fight against fate is useless. Hospitality. Proper burials. Acceptable revenge should be taken. Oaths and promises are to be kept. Prophecies often set the stage for tragedy and fate. Prophecies often present questions surrounding fate and free will and its impact on lives. The most famous prophets are often known for their tragic circumstances as well. One example is Tiresias, the Theban prophet, who was blinded for accidentally seeing Athena naked but was compensated by Athena with unerring foresight and delivered important prophecies as well as truths in the Ben myths, including the story of Oedipus, as he reveals the full extent of what Oedipus had done and even prophesied the events to happen. Even after death, Persephone granted him reason in the underworld rather than for him to become a mindless shade where he continued to receive and utter prophecies. Tiresias was not the only prophet with tragedy, however, as Cassandra, the prophetess of Troy, was cursed by Apollo to never be believed. Along with the prophets, the oracle of Delphi was whom Apollo gave his wisdom and insight, and many groups of people came in search of it. The oracle's influence, despite its full extent being controversial and incomplete, was powerful throughout mythology. Gods play an important role in mythology. Sometimes it is more direct, such as situations of divine intervention where a god will intervene to harm or aid a character. Examples of this is Athena stepping in for Odysseus, and Poseidon's feud against him. Sometimes the effect can be more indirect as well, such as a prophecy influencing a character's choice. The gods themselves, however, can't change a person's fate once it has been decided. The effects of these interactions can be to highlight the characteristics of the hero to reward or punish certain values or actions. The gods and their choices are not always predictable, and are not intended to be, as they are not human. They mostly appear to influence fate and the events within the story. Fate is known to rule over even the gods in Greek mythology, as even they cannot change a person's fate. They also have fates tied to themselves as well that they cannot fight. This is shown in quite a few stories in Greek mythology. One example is of Achilles' mother being unable to save her son, as well as Cronus being overthrown by Zeus despite his attempts to avoid such an ending. Even in the Odyssey, it was Odysseus's fate to return home. The gods are a key player within the bounds of fate, never acting against it, and often even leading a character toward their fate. There have been several examples of gods affecting a character's emotions or actions, especially with the involvement of prophecies, to cause a certain outcome for the character that was predestined to pass.